I wish I'd catastrophised less. I wish I'd perhaps not concentrated so much on a possible disastrous outcome, but tried to keep it more in perspective of what was a likely outcome. My name's Phil. I'm a surgeon who works in North Australia, and generally speaking I've found my career there very worthwhile and rewarding. So I'm making this video because I guess for some years now I've recognised that having medical practitioners going through a complaints process has been increasingly common, in fact becoming a common part of medical life, and now I've just been through a period, so I just want to share it with others. My event started with a poor outcome during a complex operation. It wasn't totally a surprise some months later when the notification from AHPRA came, because I realised the family was still very unhappy with the outcome. One of the first actions once the notification came was to write a response to the questions and allegations that have been made, and I found that process very time-consuming. Led to a lot of self-reflection, and my attitude was to be as open and honest as I possibly could. And in retrospect, that was a very good thing to do. Certainly as the process went on, my anxiety levels rose considerably, in fact a lot, and I'd wake up early in the morning with this churning over my mind, wouldn't get to sleep at night, some depression kicked in. And underlying that there was this guilt, both of the clinical outcome for the patient, but also this whole process just made me second guess myself and constantly question myself for my adequacy as a doctor. It certainly affected my practice. Immediately I became more defensive and more cautious, both selecting cases and even doing cases. I felt less able to lead. And it also affected my involvement in wider surgical affairs also. And so it felt like I was walking around perhaps with a stain on my back or some mark that people would question my integrity. One of the anomalies about the AHPRA notification system is it does concentrate on single practitioners. And yet in the workplace, we very much work as a team, and when things go wrong, there's usually just not one person responsible. However, in practical terms, only one person, or it can be more, but you have to take some degree of individual responsibility, and that is a tension, an anomaly, and it helps, I guess, a bit to start thinking of that it wasn't only me involved in this outcome. There was a lot of people who I felt very supported by. Certainly my wife, who was a medical practitioner herself, and so had some insight, but also obviously a very important person. Other family and friends also were very important, and I shared fairly freely with them. Professionally, having a GP was really important. I'd already had a GP ongoing, and I found her very helpful. And in fact, a psychologist in my case was also very helpful, particularly trying to see that bigger picture and not catastrophising. The other people I found very helpful was the medical defence organisation, and the lawyers there were you felt very much on side and supportive. So after going through this experience and talking around to others, I realised my experience is pretty normal going through it. Certainly that degree of anxiety, guilt all exists in all, and I realised just how important it is to get help as you go through that process. Knowing what I know now, and in fact it did theoretically beforehand, that most of these notifications don't turn out to be disastrous for a practitioner, I wish I'd catastrophised less. I wish I'd perhaps not concentrated so much on a possible disastrous outcome, but tried to keep it more in perspective of what was a likely outcome. During this process, it's been reinforced, I guess, that this can happen to any health professional in their lifetime, and that it's a largely dispassionate process. We shouldn't take it necessarily personal. It's a process that happens, and it can be relatively random whether you get caught up in it or not. One of the ongoing, enduring messages is that sharing both the facts and the feelings with others has been one of the most helpful things getting through this process.